All right, so let's do the second part of this lab, which is looking at acids and bases. So the first thing I'm going to do is obtain a pea-sized portion of calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate, also known as marble chips, is kind of this white powder. So I'm going to take a test tube and I'm going to put, well, that's a dirty test tube. Let's find a clean test tube and I'm going to put this calcium carbonate in. Sorry, there we go. Where'd it go? There we go. In there. And it says to add 1 molar, 1 molar hydrochloric acid. So let's make sure we can see the camera. And so if I add hydrochloric acid, can you see what's happening there? I see a gas. I see some bubbles and a reaction happening and some gas. I'll add just a little bit more. I know it didn't ask you, but what gas do you think that is being released if you've got calcium carbonate and hydrochloric acid? All right, the next thing it tells you to do is to take, and I didn't show you this earlier, but it says to keep the precipitate from the reaction of nickel nitrate and sodium hydroxide. So from up above, in the last part, here's what, let's throw a little bit of water out. Here's what that precipitate looked like. It was that green kind of jelly. See if you can see it. It's kind of a green jelly-like precipitate. I don't know if putting white paper under it will help at all. There you can see the green jelly-like precipitate. So it says to add hydrochloric acid to that. So I've added some hydrochloric acid. I'm going to just keep adding it and see what happens. You can see that the precipitate is starting to dissolve. And actually, it's almost all dissolved. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see. See if we get the white paper out of the way. See if you can see that. It's pretty much all dissolved. There's a few pieces that are floating in there. If I add just a little bit more hydrochloric acid, they're going to go away. So what's happened, if you remember what the nickel solution looked like, the nickel solution, I have it here. The nickel solution was this green solution here. And so now you can see that the precipitate has dissolved and I've got my nickel solution back. All right, the next thing it does is says to take 4 test tubes. Make sure I got some clean test tubes here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ugh. All right, and it says to add about a milliliter of, let's see, hydrochloric acid to 1. Add hydrochloric acid, acetic acid, ammonia, and sodium hydroxide. I've got these 2 switched, so we'll do 3 and we'll do them in the right order. All right, so I'm going to put about a milliliter of hydrochloric acid into 1. It's just clear and colorless. I'm going to put about a milliliter of acetic acid into the next one. I'm going to put about a milliliter of ammonia, NH3, into the next one. And I'm going to put sodium hydroxide into the 4th one. All right, then what it asks me to do, and I'm going to move this over here, is it wants me to test with litmus paper. So let's see, let's get the right order. It says, take a drop of each solution and touch it to a piece of red litmus paper. I'm just going to take a dropper since I don't have a, add a little drop. So this is the hydrochloric acid. Oops, what did it say first? It said on red litmus paper. Okay, so I'm going to put a drop of hydrochloric acid. See if we can get closer to that. So hydrochloric acid is first, and pretty much the red just stayed red. Acetic acid, I'm going to put a drop on the next one. And it was red, and it just stayed red again. Now I'm going to put a drop of ammonia on the third one. Whoops, let's get some more. I don't know if you can see. That turned a very blue. So the pink litmus turned blue when I added ammonia. And now if I do the hydroxide, put a drop there. The sodium hydroxide also turned dark blue. Just for testing purposes, we are going to put a drop of distilled water onto the pink. Okay, I just put distilled water and it stayed pink or red. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing with the blue litmus paper. So I'm going to start with hydrochloric acid, and the blue litmus paper, there we go, turned pink. The acetic acid on the blue paper also turns it pink or red. We call it red, but it looks more pink to me. All right, if I put ammonia on the blue paper, it pretty much stays blue. And you probably by now can guess what's going to happen when I put the sodium hydroxide on the blue paper. It stays blue. And then finally, if I put water on the blue paper, it also stays blue. So record your results for that. I think the last thing it does to ask you to do is it says mix together, and you're not going to be able to observe this, but mix the HCl and the NH3. So I've got the HCl and the NH3. It says mix them together and see if heats evolve. So I'm going to add them together. And I'm touching the test tube. It's kind of cold in this room. Add a little bit more HCl and see what I see. It's getting a little bit warmer. So there is a little bit of heat evolved when I add the HCl and the NH3. And now let's do the same thing with the acetic acid and the NaOH when I mix them together. Oh yeah, that one definitely, it got fast quickly. Okay, wish you could feel it, but you can't. So anyway, that is the second part of this lab.